Hey there, it's Shauna. I'm so glad you're here to spend a bit of my Saturday with me. I'm trying this whole voiceover thing for my videos rather than just having background music and subtitles for a lot of different reasons, but mostly because I want to connect more with you. So just know that, at least for the time being, until I can figure out what works best for me and my style of video creating, you're going to be hearing a lot of background noise and my voice over my videos. So it's 8:30 and I'm just now having my morning coffee. I've been up since 6 a.m. with Grace and she's just now down for her first nap. This is my husband, who I guess just woke up and decided to serenade me while he sweeps the kitchen. And silly me, I feed into it by joining in on it. So now that I do actually have my morning coffee, it is time to prepare pre-breakfast. Since I'm always up before the sun comes up every morning, I feel like I need two breakfasts to be able to have the fuel to keep up with my daughter and all the day's work at home. Not only am I a new mom, but I'm also 40, at risk for prediabetes, at risk for anemia, I have a vitamin deficiency, and I also have a magnesium deficiency. And so, needless to say, I need to try to watch what I eat. Not that I was eating bad or unhealthy before, but I definitely need to eat a lot more clean, control my portion sizes, eat more protein, healthy fats, all of that good stuff. Eating whatever I wanted all through my teens, my 20s, and my 30s, I really had to come to grips with a lot of that, but now I'm at a place where I just want to be healthy for my family, and I'll do whatever it takes. And here's my husband sweeping away as I'm enjoying breakfast. Now, before you go on thinking that I am a terrible homemaker, hear me out. For a long time, I was actually insistent on doing all the chores, all the cleaning, everything having to do with the house. But it took a toll on me mentally, and I had to ask for help. So my husband cleans the floors once a week. I do touch-ups every other day or so, and he takes out the trash for the most part. And sometimes I do, but he does most of it. And it has actually worked out really great for us. My husband doesn't mind doing those things to help, and I still do the vast majority of the housework here, and so thankfully I still feel very much accomplished in my role as a homemaker. Look at this yummy color. So how do you divide up your chores with your husband, if you do at all? I love to hear other people's experiences and what has and hasn't worked for them, just in case we get stuck in a rut one day and want to change things up. I'll have some ideas under my belt. It's 9:30 now, and Grace is up from her first nap. She's a little groggy, so we just dote on her and love on her while she wakes up. Eric is at his elders meeting, so it's just Grace and I. And since it's Saturday, on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, we tend to do a lot of relaxing and less intentional activities like educational play, structured learning, things like that. At this point, Grace spit up, so I had to do a quick change and then get to a second breakfast. So what I have here is a super simple salad, say that 3 times fast, with spinach, romaine lettuce, olives, fresh grated Parmesan cheese, slices of orange, and this really yummy fried egg with a perfectly gel-like yolk. Not runny, very much solid, but still gooey enough. If you're into ASMR, I apologize for not at least having a little bit of background noise here, but I had to mute the sound in the video because I have classical music playing in the background for baby Grace. I think there's new research out there that says playing classical music for your baby's brain development is actually a myth, but I figure it doesn't hurt to do it. I rather like the idea of my baby appreciating classical music. And of course, Grace could only take so long in her activity center and wanted to be in my arms. My daughter being a little bit of a Velcro baby at times does make it difficult to get some things done and be as productive as I want to. But at the same time, the saying goes, the days are long, but the years are short, is so true and so on the forefront of my mind, because I know that one day she will outgrow this clinginess, and her constant desire and need to be together with me will be replaced by hobbies, friends, etc. So I am not only embracing the clinginess, I am cherishing every second of it, even when it's hard. You know, that little tinge of frustration that you get, but then immediately after, you thank the Lord. That is cherishing every moment, even when it's hard. As you can see here, Grace is going back and forth between trying the egg and making little judgy faces. I don't know if she likes it or if it's a texture thing. I have no idea at this point, but it's kind of funny to watch. You would think that after 3 years of experience in childcare, working as a preschool teacher, a nanny, and a daycare worker, I guess, I would have my daughter figured out, or at least have some idea of what she's thinking, but she eludes me. Motherhood is a trip. So I think you could guess that I've given up on eating my breakfast and given up on having Grace try the egg because she is just so wishy-washy about it. But I do intend on having her try again later. Okay, Grace, you silly girl, you win for now. Hey, baby. So after I admitted defeat for the time being with my battle with Grace and the egg, I decided to have a little bit of quiet time after she went down for her second nap of the day. And after carving out some quiet time with the Lord, I went to the back patio and started some seedlings for spring planting. I dabbled a little bit in gardening back when I used to live in South Florida in my cottage, and it was really nice to have a year-round growing season pretty much. It was not hard at all to be successful at growing things back there, but here in Colorado, with our very unpredictable weather and very long winters, it is a huge learning curve. Because I'm a huge nerd when it comes to anything I dedicate myself to, be it Bible study or gardening, I separated all my seeds that I planned to sow this year, and I put them into different bags so that I could have them organized for the year. As pretty much a brand new gardener, it's hard to know what's what, so this is really helpful for me. Hopefully I can get some sort of big binder, something like that, to organize all these seeds, but for right now, they're gonna go in this bag. And now I'm just getting my little biodegradable seed starting pots ready. Here are some of the seeds that I'm going to plant now. Curly-leaved kale, shishito peppers. The shishito peppers were left behind in our raised garden bed from the previous owners of the house, and I am so incredibly grateful for everything that they left behind when they sold us this house. Now I'm just ripping off pieces of the paper towel that I dried the tomato seeds on from the grocery store cuttings and directly planting them into the seedling pots. I do have tomato seeds and all kinds of heirloom non-GMO seeds that I previously bought when I used to dabble in gardening back in Florida, but I figured, hey, why not experiment since I'm learning? And I don't know about you, but when I'm doing anything gardening related, unless I know I'm working with something that has thorns or other prickly things, I don't wear gardening gloves. It's really just easier for me, but I really love the feeling of soil in between my fingers and underneath my fingernails. Call me silly, but that's who I am. There are scientific studies that show skin contact with soil, sand, or anything natural like that for prolonged periods of time actually raises your serotonin levels. In other words, soil makes you happy. So now that cleanup is done with my little project, I'm going to get baby Grace up from her nap. I want to try to cultivate this love of being together and doing various activities together as a family, whether it's for entertainment or just the mundane day-to-day things like cooking and gardening or chores. So I'm trying to involve Grace in everything that I do, or as much as I can, early on. So instead of sticking her in a playpen with her toys or having her do her own thing at her activity center, which I have to admit I sometimes do need to do that to get some things done, but for the most part I do things like this, where right now I am having her watch me organize my little seedlings under my grow light. And when she's old enough, she will increasingly become more hands-on with this stuff, if she's interested. As it stands now, she seems quite curious about this stuff.
Hello.
So sometime between that previous clip that you just saw and right now, as Grace is eating spaghetti, Eric came home from his meeting, and now we're all eating leftovers from last night's dinner. I often get so caught up in the moment of just doing life. I very much often forget to film everything that I do, so let me just give you an update on what we have been up to, but I haven't been able to film for this video. But really, there's not much to update you on. Ever since Eric came home, since it was too cold to be outside for a family walk, which we usually do when we're all together, we just stayed inside and relaxed until dinner time.
Yummy in Grace's tummy. Yummy in Grace's tummy. Yeah.
Grace, come on.
So here's a little taste of what it's like when I cook dinner about 75% of the time. I mentioned earlier that she can be a super Velcro baby at times, and here she is being just that in full force.
Baby, okay.
Sometimes I'll wear her while I'm cooking if she really wants to be a Velcro baby, but with this meal, I'm making curry and I need to fry up some onions, and there's going to be a lot of bouncing oil everywhere, and I definitely don't want to wear her while I'm doing that. Eric really tries his best to keep her still and entertained, but sometimes this girl... So I'm essentially making buttered chicken, but I'm calling it curry because I honestly don't really know what constitutes curry. So if you know much better than I do about what actually makes curry curry, let me know. So the way that I like to make buttered chicken is to add a little bit of tomato puree to the frying pan after the onions have been frying for a while. Now normally I would just puree my own tomatoes with fresh tomatoes, a little olive oil, and a little salt, but I'm out of fresh tomatoes, so I actually used jarred spaghetti sauce. I'm just briefly describing the steps here in the video, but if you're interested in getting the full recipe, you can go to my website, and I will leave the link to that down in the description box and the pinned comments. Now I'm just adding a cup of heavy whipping cream. Have you noticed how peacefully I'm cooking right now? Grace is relaxing in Daddy's arms while he's watching the news, so praise God with me for that. Let's give this butter chicken curry type thing a majiggy a stir. And now we'll just turn down the heat from high to medium or medium low and let that simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes. What you see me adding here to the rice is cumin seeds. I'm also adding in 1/4 of a teaspoon of coriander powder. And then just lock up the Instapot cover and press the rice button to cook it. Now back over here to the frying pan, I had some dark meat chicken that was marinating in the fridge with a bunch of stuff. You'll see it in the full recipe in the pinned comments and the description box. But basically it's yogurt and lemon juice and a bunch of spices. So I am adding the chicken into the frying pan with my heavy cream, tomato puree, and fried onions with ghee. And I'm going to stir it all up and cover it up and let it simmer for about another 15 minutes or so. Now, my personal cooking philosophy is I never sit down. I am always in the kitchen doing something while I'm waiting for things to simmer or things to bake. And this avoids me burning anything or just getting too comfortable and not being productive in the kitchen. And this is how I'm able to clean as I go, get things put away. This way, by the end of dinner, the only things that I have to clean is load up my own plate, because my husband loads up his own plate in the dishwasher, and hand wash whatever pots and pans that I can't put in the dishwasher, like this ceramic green pan that you see here simmering on the stove. Thankfully, Grace is still happily playing with her toy while she's in Daddy's arms while he watches the news, so I'm able to just focus on doing this, cleaning as I go. Once things are decently put away, the next step for me is to make chickpeas. Eric isn't a huge fan of chickpeas, so I cook the chickpeas separately, and I make a little extra for myself because I love toasted chickpeas. For starters, to a small saucepan, I'm adding a tablespoon of ghee infused with Himalayan salt. Look at how this butter just melts into the pan on the camera. So cool. In goes the organic chickpeas, some Himalayan salt, and some ground black pepper, and buku amounts of curry powder. Thank you. I want to say this is maybe 3 tablespoons worth. Give that a little stir. And then just let those chickpeas sit in that ghee for about 5 to 10 minutes on medium-high heat. Now I'm just going to add in the final seasonings, first off with paprika, and now cilantro. Coriander powder. Give it a little stir. After stirring, I'm going to turn the heat down from high to low and then cover it up with a lid and let it just toast there for a few minutes. At this point, the chicken's done, so I'm going to add a little cornstarch slurry to thicken it up and give it a final little stir. I don't know what it is about this step, but it is so satisfying to me to watch the sauce slowly thicken up. I don't know how it looks to you, but for me, it actually ended up getting a little bit too thick for me, so I went ahead and added some chicken bone broth to thin it out a little bit and also add in some extra chicken flavor to the whole thing. I think part of what makes cooking so therapeutic and relaxing and enjoyable for me is the creative aspect of cooking, especially when you've been cooking for many, many years like myself. I was taught how to cook just simple little things when I was 8, 9 years old, things like scrambled eggs, grilled cheese, fried rice, and after so many years of cooking, you just kind of get good at fixing your mistakes and still having them turn out wonderfully tasty. I don't know if I can do that with baking, but those of you more experienced bakers out there, let me know if that's sort of the same thing you can do with baking too. Look at the nice browning and toastiness of these chickpeas. They are going to be so yummy. Let me just go ahead and grab a little piece to show you the beautiful color on these chickpeas. So I'm going to put these little guys back and give it one final stir, cover it up one more time for about a couple minutes, maybe 3 minutes. And since the chickpeas are already nice and toasted, I don't want them to burn, so I went ahead and turned off the burner and just let the residual heat do its thing. The rice is finished and it is time to plate up everything. At this point, I'm going to mute the audio in the background and just have this voiceover because the TV is a little loud and you can actually hear every word that the news anchors are saying, and so I just don't want to get in trouble here, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that down. While everything was covered with lids and simmering and toasting and all that good stuff, Grace and I did her bedtime routine, and she is down for the night, and so my husband and I can quietly enjoy our dinner. And I'm just going to top everything off with this fresh cilantro, and that is our dinner. And by the way, it was absolutely delicious. I made a lot, so there were leftovers, and I had this curry for breakfast, lunch, and dinner the next day, y'all. I don't know, it was really, really good for some reason. I must have put some extra love into it. But let's do a little taste test, shall we? Well, I was not expecting to have a moment like that on camera, but after looking at it, I thought it was kind of funny, and I figured you might get a kick out of some comedy at the end of the video, so I left it. And now I'm going to enjoy the rest of my dinner with my hubby, and we are going to enjoy the rest of our night, and I hope you enjoy yours. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.